اوكي. محمد إذا كان طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أهلا وسهلا بكم يا شباب. يعني عودا أحمدا كده بعد العيد الكبير، وشكرا على حضوركم في الوقت في أحد أنشطة الشبكة المصرية للبحث العلمي في مجال الصحة النفسية. أنا اسمي محمد عيسى، بورد ممبر للشبكة المصرية للبحث العلمي في الصحة النفسية. مبسوط جدا أن أنا معاكم النهاردة في أحد لقاءاتنا الدورية، وهي لقاء مع باحث، والنهاردة هيكون معانا الدكتور سامر الحايك. قبل إن شاء الله ما أقدمه، يعني حابب إن أنا أدي بريف شوية على الشبكة زي ما حضراتكم عارفين، وحتى الأسامي مش غريبة علينا، احنا شفناها جدا وتقابلنا، وده مش أول لقاء بيننا وبين بعض. الشبكة المصرية للبحث العلمي للصحة النفسية هو شبكة متخصصة في مجال البحث العلمي بكل ما يتعلق بالطب النفسي والصحة النفسية. بنعمل على 3 أنشطة: نشاط البحث العلمي في جروبس عندنا شغالة في مجال الصحة النفسية للأدلت، للتشايلد، الجيرياتريك، الأدكشن، السكشوال ميديسن، والومن منتال هيلث، وكل مجموعه شغاله في جروب بحثي منفصل. واحنا الحمد لله في الدوره الثانيه دلوقتي، وكانت السنه اللي فاتت هي بدايتنا في 2020، وكانت الدوره الاولى انتجت عن 10 مشاريع بحثيه، واحنا حاليا شغالين في الدوره الثانيه وفي ان بروجريس زي ما حضراتكم عارفين. من احد انشطتنا كمان ان يبقى في شكل دوري على الريسيرش، الجورنال ريسيرش جورنال، وبيبقى في لقاء مع احد المتخصصين في البحث العلمي، وبنناقش ورقه علميه وبنناقشها من كل الجوانب، بتبقى بتدينا فرصه اكتر ان احنا ازاي نقدر نقيم ورقه علميه، نقدر نشوف البحث العلمي بيتم ازاي. النشاط الثالث وهو اللي موجود فيه النهارده، وهي شيرنج اكسبيرينس، وبصراحه من احب الانشطه لقلبي، يعني ان احنا تشير اكسبيرينس بيننا وبين بعض، ونشوف نموذج ناجح من الناس اللي استمرت في مجال البحث العلمي والصحه النفسيه، ونبدا نسالهم عن تجربتهم. والنهارده هيكون معانا الدكتور سامر الحايك. بصراحه دكتور سامر البروفايل والبايو بتاعي قدامه، وانا محتار ان انا ابدا اعرف ايه ولا ايه. فانا هدي كده تعريف بسيط لدكتور سامر، وبعد كده هسيب المايك له ان هو يبدا يعرف نفسه. هو دكتور سامر تخصصه في الادكشن سايكاتري، معاه ادكشن سايكاتري فيلو في الجاكسون هيلث سيستم في يونيفرسيتي اوف ميامي فلوريدا امريكا. اتخرج من كلية الطب بالأمريكان يونيفرسيتي في بيروت، وقسم الطب النفسي في الجامعة الأمريكية في بيروت. ودكتور دكتور سامر كمان هو عضو في الإيرلي كارير سايكاتريست اسوشيشن. في بروفايلات كتيره بصراحه، يعني في بروفايل انا معجب جدا بالتجربه بتاع دكتور سامر، بس حابب ان هو اللي يبدا يعرف نفسه، والمايك معاه. قبل ما انتقل للمايك الدكتور سامر، حابب اقول ان من ضمن الحاجات اللي انا بستفاد منها من الرحله مع باحث هي تجارب الألم وتجارب الفشل. احنا بنتعلم من تجارب الألم وتجارب الفشل أكتر من تجارب النجاح. فالنموذج بتاع دكتور سامر حابب ان احنا نستفاد منه في أسئلتنا في كل الاستفسارات، وانا واثق ان دكتور سامر هيكون عنده الصدر الرحب ان هو يتلقى كل أسئلتنا. فأهلا بيك يا دكتور سامر، شكرا على ان انت يعني أجبت الدعوة، وفلور از يورز. دكتور اتفضل يا فندم.
Thank you كثير محمد. It's really a pleasure يعني for me to be here with you. I want to say أول شغلة إنه what you are doing is amazing. يعني I've heard a lot about you from many different colleagues in Egypt. I really think إنه what you are doing is very important. يعني not only at the level of your country بس حتى at the level of the Arab world. لأنه as you know how much we do research in the Arab world, particularly when it's related to mental health, it's extremely limited. So I really think you are doing an amazing job and keep doing it. So great. Thank you Kamena for the introduction. يعني you mentioned most of it. So أنا هلا currently in Miami. I recently moved from Lebanon. Otherwise كان كل my training, my medical school و everything in Lebanon. And I think being at the American University of Beirut, by the way, we have a lot of amazing Egyptian residents كمان عنا training programs. I really think it was very good as a niche to help us يعني develop into the researchers يعني we are today. So I got the chance over the past years يعني to publish many papers, a good number of papers. While we're gonna go over يعني things I have been facing, including كمان the failures, and I'm glad you mentioned this early on لأنه I'm gonna be talking about that, and this is something everyone should expect يعني on a research journey. I don't think it should be a demotivation يعني بالعكس it should be a motivation so that we learn من القصص الغلط أو القصص اللي بتصير معنا. So I'm gonna be starting. عملت a kind of a presentation with a few slides just to guide us through the presentation. However, I need to tell you, this is very informal. So if you have any questions at any time, مش ضروري تخلوهم للآخر. إذا بدكم تسألوا a question, you can write it in the chat box. أنا فاتح عندي chat box, so I'm gonna be taking a look at it all the time. And if I'm gonna be asking كمان regularly if you have any questions or anything. So أكيد رح نحكي a little bit about research, why it's important. I'll try as much as I can to talk from my personal experience and what were my motivations, شو هن obstacles that could happen to anyone, and not only to me, how to overcome them. Well, I think the last two parts are very important, اللي هن those related to mentorship and those related to having a CV. They are very important or very relevant. I hope they would be very relevant to you. One disclaimer قبل ما بلش إنه this is the first time I do something like this, so bear with me. Hopefully this will be يعني something positive لكم. Okay, so first question, why research? Well, actually when I was preparing the presentation وكنت عم فكر بيني وبين حالي إنه how come did I start doing research like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, يعني what was happening? And honestly, after thinking a lot about it, I think it started because it was a requirement for me. Yeah, ما بعرف if you know about AUB, the American University of Beirut, but usually you have to go the extra mile and everything. And back then, يعني many years ago, research was something novel, something like fancy. إذا حدا بيعمل research, it's very important for you to be part of it. But honestly, back then, I had no idea what research was. يعني حتى I remember very well أول ما بلشت بالfield of research وأول ما I contacted people, it was actually a little bit scary for me because was it opportunity versus interest? It was it was a combination of both because I had the opportunity to do it. I was partially interested in knowing what is research because for me it was something novel, it was a challenge. As a person, I do like to challenge myself and to try things I don't know. And part of it, as I mentioned again, it was a requirement, and I think it applies to all of us. يعني كلنا at a point, if you want to apply, especially if you are in academia, like if you are applying to an academic job, if you are applying to medical school, to residency, if you are applying outside, one very important part in academia is research, and in that it's a requirement for everyone. It was definitely a challenge because I had to dwell into a field I didn't know anything about, nothing like from school. But I don't think it being a challenge should be scary for everyone. بالعكس لأنه we always start from somewhere. We have to start from somewhere, and the amount of information you're gonna learn with time and with the journey of research is amazing. And I can tell you that this journey حتى لو رح تكون كتير صعبة, and it will be difficult. I promise you it will be difficult, but you're gonna grow so much in it, and not only at a professional level, but even at a personal level, even at a collegial level with people around you. And this is by itself why I believe research is very special. So research, I think what is a little bit different from clinical work, or I'm going to comment a lot about clinical work يعني بحكم شغلي because I'm a psychiatrist, I'm doing a fellowship right now. What is different in research is that sometimes you find wider things you can do, because you can ask whatever question you want, you can look for whatever things you want to do, and definitely it's an experience completely different from the clinical experience. I think what is attractive about research is that there is a place for everyone. So what do I mean by a place for everyone? And in research, you know, if you want to work on a paper, or if you want to do something, or if you want to ask a scientific question, there are so many aspects or so many processes you have to pass through. And it's not necessary that you excel along all the processes. However, you can get the chance to learn from all of them. Showing how the processes, first of all, asking the scientific question, because, you know, is you want to be part of a project. Usually when we are novel researchers, we tend to be part of a project that already started. So we don't worry a lot about asking the scientific question or maybe finding the solution for a problem. However, with time, what happens is that you learn how to ask the scientific question. And you learn to use, for instance, the PICO model. I think you might be familiar with it, which is mainly what are your participants, your intervention, comparison, and outcome that you use in order to build a research question that you would like to answer if it is not already answered. There is another question, Jibril. Hi, Jibril, how are you doing? What one can do mentoring versus grant application, soft skills like publishing, success. I'm gonna be talking a little bit about mentorship at the end. I'm not gonna be talking about the grant applications. I think this would deserve a presentation honestly on its own. And we're going to be talking a little bit about rejections in journals. So we're going to be talking a little bit about publishing and how you can increase your chances in publications. Okay, so I hope that would answer your questions. These will come in the next few slides. So going back again to the things really, and you can learn in research, and that's why again research is very flexible. It could vary from searching the literature, from doing data collection, doing data analysis, statistical analysis, I mean, deciding or brainstorming on the type of study, etc. And in that you can really find in research there is a place for everyone, and there is a lot of things to learn. And I think this was a main motivation for me, because every project I have been on up till now بتعلم بعدني قصص جديدة, and the learning curve never goes down. دايما it's exponentially going up, and this is amazing by itself, particularly if you are interested in academia. One amazing thing about research that you tend to do with time is that you will collaborate with a lot of people. But I have to say something. Many of these things, or many of the things you get through research, are on the long term. It would be very difficult to reach them on the short term, like مثلا collaborating with others or even publishing. And like, I remember when I started my first project, I was in Med 1, in first year of medical school. However, I published my first paper when I was at the end of Med 3. So actually it took me 3 years لطلع أول paper, and it was 3 years that were difficult, that during which I tried to learn a lot, and I had a mentor, and I had everything. However, the process, what I'm trying to say is that the process is slow. It's not a fast process. If you are looking for like something super quick, طلع paper يلا بجمعة بجمعتين, I don't think this is never the right way to do it, and this is very impossible unless the quality of the work is compromised. So always keep in mind that in research you need to focus on long-term goals that you will reach. حتى لو هتتعبوا كتير, it's very normal, but ultimately you're gonna be reaching that. So definitely what would motivate, I guess for you to be here on a Saturday night, I think you are all already very motivated to do research and to be involved in academia. And for sure, part of the motivation will come from like yourself. If you are not motivated in it for whatever is the reason, you will not be able to work in like بتعطوا من قلبكم انتوا عم تشتغلوا. و this is very important, and motivation is related to so many factors كمان. It's related to whom you are working with, who is your mentor, what kind of a project or what kind of topic you are working with. It depends إذا قبل you had positive or negative experiences, and it depends on the opportunities you are having. All of these come into play. None of them is like one major factor in what would motivate me versus not. It is more about the whole picture, and that's why it's very important to keep this whole picture into عم تشتغلوا on a study, and not to stop at any obstacle that might happen. It's very important to be smart in looking for what motivates you. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. That would be the topic of choice. I remember that the first few years I worked on research, I was interested in something completely different compared to what I'm doing now. يعني أنا رجعت عملت psychiatry. My actually first 2 or 3 papers were actually about diabetes. But back then I didn't really know what I liked, or I had very few ideas. And this is fine, as long as you are able to pinpoint 1 or 2 things that you might be interested in. I think this is good, and I think you need to grab that and try to start with that, even though it might not be something you're gonna be doing later on. It's completely fine, believe me. And how the papers اللي اشتغلت عليهم back then, I think they gave me a huge baggage that helped me on إنه شو بدي أكمل لبعدين، شو بدي أعمل لبعدين. So having a topic in mind, or maybe a specialty of interest or whatever, it makes you more motivated لأنه ultimately you're gonna be working or doing something you like. I think يعني it makes sense. Whereas working on something that you might not like just for the sake of maybe having a paper, having experience, it can be a little bit difficult. You might struggle a little bit with that. So it's very important to keep the topic in mind. There is success and lack of success. It really depends on your perspective. Some of us are motivated by success, but others can be motivated by not succeeding and then trying harder in order to succeed. And something you need to keep in mind in research or in academia, it's ups and downs. كل الوقت. I used to work in basic research بالأول, وبعدين I moved more يعني to clinical as I went into residency. Basic research is very frustrating. ما بعرف إذا you have some experience with basic research, mainly like يمكن working with animal models. I used to do a lot of that, working with like growing cell lines, and this used to be very frustrating because like I used to have to go to the lab every day after my after medical school is over. حتى مرات I used to have to go to the lab over the weekend to feed the rats. مرات كنت أوصل يكونوا الراتس ميتين، وإنه that would be a problem because you have to redo the experiment all over. So there will be a lot of downs، وحتى هود الداونز وهود الobstacles رح يكونوا موجودين بالclinical research as well. But the best way to look at it is to use these downs to push you further. لأنه after a down, things will improve at a point. They should, hopefully. And this shouldn't demotivate you because, again, it's a very normal part of the process of research. And once you accept this, once you accept and know there will be failures, whatever is the failure, I think it will become much easier for you to be fine with it. And definitely you learn how to go around it. You learn from your mistakes, you learn from what did I do wrong this time, how I can improve it next time, etc. So definitely the best motivation to do research is succeeding in a previous research. يعني this is I remember our publication I had I was super happy about it. Every few days googling again the name of the publication to find it published online, and it's a nice feeling. It's amazing, and it's good to know that you are contributing to something. It's good to know that you are trying to solve a problem, you are trying to expand knowledge about a topic that isn't well studied or whatever. And when you do that, and especially when you do that within a collaborative team, this success gives you even more motivation. مثلا I would say that I'm very proud about these 2 very recently published papers that we did with a group of only Arab authors and researchers from like 12 or 13 different Arab countries, and this was something amazing. لأنه I don't think it's done before in the Arab world to be able to gather researchers from many different countries and to grasp a topic اللي هو كتير كبير and to try to put it in a paper. وقتها definitely هون كنا related to COVID. It was and it is still the hype يعني about COVID. But what I'm trying to say is that once you do that, and once you see that you're not alone in this journey, and once you see that there are so many people like you in different countries with whom you can relate so much, and you are able to have such good work published in very good journals, it's amazing. I like this slide كمان just to show you that all of these authors كلهم من دول عربية, كلهم their affiliations من دول عربية, and ultimately we were able to publish in excellent journals with very good impact factor, with very good very good peer review process and all of that. And I'm focusing on this لأنه at many times I've heard it, and I think many of you have heard it, إنه as people who are international, IMGs, etc., it's more difficult for us to publish. Part of this is true, however, it's not completely true as long as you're doing everything the right way, you're knowing where to submit, etc. And definitely you can do it. Definitely you can do it. So إذا حدا at any point told you, well, it's very difficult for you to publish, هيدي let us say هيدي paper من لبنان عم تحكوا about depression من لبنان, who cares, publish it in your local journal, no one would want to read it in the world, or like you need to put an author that is from the US to get your paper published. I want to tell you that this is not the case. You can have your paper published in very good journals, whatever is the topic. أكيد we need to be realistic about where we are applying. هلا بنحكي a little bit about that, but you can do it for sure. Definitely in research you will get the chance, I really hope, خصوصي لما تروق COVID, إنه you will get the chance to visit so many places, to go to attend conferences, to do presentations, to do whether they are like full presentations or poster presentations. And this is something additional about research, if you like it, اللي هو participating and meeting colleagues from the different parts of the world. Like I really got the chance to visit so many places, including Australia. Like I have never ever thought I'd go to Sydney. I got the chance to go to Egypt, and that was 2 years ago, just before COVID. It was really amazing. I got the chance to go to Tunis, like really to places where I'd never thought I'd go. And all of these were really, first of all, amazing experiences. Got to meet so many people, amazing people. بعدني لهلا رفقة معهم كلهم, in contact with every one of them. And once you see people from like different countries, it's like you get outside of the box. لأنه كل حدا منا really kind of in their country, in their place, we're limited to our own culture, our own things. So this helps you open up much more, and definitely it gives you such a professional experience. It helps you overcome any fears in presenting. It helps you know what to do in a poster presentation, etc. And all of that at a point will also be a very good addition to your CV. And we're going to mention كمان how important it is for you to add هود القصص to your CV. So this is a very important, this was a very important motivation for me to continue research. I have to say, at first, research for me started as a requirement. However, when I started to dwell more into it, and when I was more focused on what I'm doing, and I was more aware about what I was doing, it wasn't anymore a requirement for me. I discovered that it wasn't anymore a requirement, or I'm not doing it because I should do it, but rather because I love it. لأنه أيمتى هلا بقعد بعمل research بالweekend, وبعمل research after my clinical hours at work. So and this tells you really that the journey is enjoyable, and really you can enjoy it بغض النظر كل ال obstacles, وبغض النظر كل ال limitations that will happen along the way. So it's definitely important to talk about the obstacles, and I'm pretty sure you know all of them. and you might already face many of these. Support might not be available, resources are extremely limited, and this is a main limitation. We barely have funding for physical health in general and research in general. So كيف إذا research related to mental health? Enthusiasm is not common. It's not common at all. Wherever you are, very few would be interested in research. Time can be restricted. I can tell you most of my research, I was doing it as personal effort. It wasn't accounted for me during medical school, ما كان as part of the curriculum. During my residency, it was very, very limited time. So كمان it wasn't really part of the curriculum. So time can be restricted. ساعتها انتوا بدكم تشوفوا قد you want to give time to research. And excuse me, and at many times efforts can go unappreciated, and you're gonna face that at many times, unfortunately. So yeah, this can happen at many times. However, really, I think there are things in research or obstacles that I cannot solve, no one can solve, and we really have to work around them. في قصص definitely we can try to overcome them, but I think the most important clue is to persevere. بغض النظر كل الobstacles اللي عم بيصيروا, at a point I can promise you're gonna succeed. رح يمشي الحال. It might take some time, and it might not be that easy, and it's very important for you to be mindful of that. But at a point it will ultimately work, so you really have to persevere, and you really have to try your best. And this perseverance ما رح تجي من لحالها كمان. You need a support system around you. So it's very important that, again, you'd have a good mentor, you'd have good colleagues that would be aware of what is happening, you'd have a good team you're working with, so that this will make things easier for everyone. And definitely when talking about overcoming obstacles, one obstacle, ما بعرف إذا I should call it obstacle, but many people call it that, it's rejections, and where to apply, how to apply, and I want this paper to be published. But for me, at least very recently, the way I started to look at rejections and at the process of publishing is that it's seeking publication, is that really it's a learning experience for us. It's an academic exercise, and getting rejected is super normal, because the average number of rejection for any paper you're going to submit at a random time is 5. And believe me, I have been there. I had a paper which got rejected 10 times, بكل ريحة 10 times, after applying to 10 different journals, not even sending a review, like directly rejecting it. But ultimately it was accepted. It was accepted in more of a international journal rather than a journal restricted to the US. Ultimately it worked out, and that by itself, these 10 rejections, even though they were very upsetting, it was a learning experience. And I think also it was an experience in patience. It's something you're going to acquire in research, to have a lot of patience in every steps of the process, and to believe in the process while you're having this patience. So why I love, not rejections, I'm gonna say why I love revisions and receiving major revisions. Or sometimes some journals are really بيحترموا حالهم لما بيبعتوا a rejection. At the end of the rejection, they tell you why they rejected it and what they think. And for me, this part اللي بيكونوا كاتبينها بالآخر, اللي مرة هي 2 sentences or 3 sentences, this can be very illuminating. حتى لو it's sad the paper got rejected, because I want you to remember, usually in a word that is utopic, وبي journals بيكونوا كتير شفافين with their authors. When they reject a paper, or when they give comments, particularly major revisions, it is for the best of the paper. نحن عادة when we write a paper, talking from experience, we are so into the paper, it's very difficult for us نبعد شوي and to read it from a different lens, اللي هي the lens of a reviewer, or the lens of an editor, or even the lens of a reader. And that reader could be anyone. Usually when we get these revisions, it helps us remove the lens, the hat of the author, and more to put this hat of a reader in order to make the paper improve. عم بحكي in 95 to 99% of the cases, this is what major revisions are about. They are really about improving the quality of the paper, and they are about giving us a different perspective on how we can present our work or our findings and to improve on the paper. So I want you to always keep that in mind. أنا بالأول بتذكر كتير منيح when I used to get revisions I'd be like لا major revisions هلا بدي شهرين ارجع ظبطها للبيبر. And yeah, it used to be a struggle, it used to be annoying, but once you put أول paper كتبتوها and عملتوا لها submission, and then once you put the paper after revisions and you see the difference, you can understand and you can appreciate the comments of the reviewer, and this will take some time. It took me some time really to appreciate what was happening behind the process, but I can promise you this is, again, in 95 to 99% of the cases, it is for your benefit, and I want you to always take it in a good spirit. There are times you're gonna find a reviewer يمكن المود تبعه منه ظابط او يمكن he had a bad day وبتطلع فشة الخلق بالبيبر، إلا إذا البيبر عن جد ما كانت منيحة. I really hope it's not the case. This might happen with you, بس كمان I want you to expect it. If it happened like once in a lifetime, I don't want you to be demotivated by it. بالعكس, when you find comments, because at many times reviewers might have comments that don't make any sense or that you might think is wrong, you can come in a very courteous way, explain yourself for them or elaborate أكتر. لأنه remember, again, a reviewer is reading something that they know nothing about, and they would expect, like any reader, إنه هالpaper تكون very clear from A to Z. And this is a difficult job for us to do. It's a very difficult job, especially that نحن in the background we know everything about it. So always keep this in mind whenever you receive reviews, etc. And the question is where to apply. إنه أنا عندي هيدا البيبر where I want to send it. This is always a very difficult question, but what can help you narrow down, what I usually do, what I personally do is, let us say I'm writing a paper about prevalence of depression in Lebanon. First of all, it's very important for you to be realistic where you want to send the paper. لأنه a paper about prevalence of depression in Lebanon versus a meta-analysis about the efficacy of lurazidone in treating psychotic disorders compared to aripiprazole. Our paper, the audience تبعها is very different compared to the second paper. Probably the second paper will acquire more international audience compared to our paper. So it's very important for you to keep in mind what is your topic, and according to that topic to know شو هي الaudience اللي بدكم تحكوها وتكونوا realistic in that. أول paper ما فيها أقدمها على Lancet Psychiatry. I'm gonna get the rejection in 2 minutes. Then a paper I might, إذا I got a very good meta-analysis, and إذا the trials were really good, and إذا I did a very good grading of evidence, I can send it to Lancet. So always have very realistic expectations and work according to that expectations, and always do a good search for different journals قبل ما تقدموا على a journal. I usually search for like 3, 4, 5 journals. في a search Elsevier search engine helps a lot. In Elsevier search engine you can put your abstract and your title, and sometimes it can give you some good recommendations or on where you can seek publication. And sometimes the only thing I do is like just type into Google Journals Psychiatry International or Journals Psychiatry Regional in Asia. So you have different options, and then you go to each option. It's very important to تروحوا على كل option. It's very important to look at the scope of the journal. لأنه again, إذا أنا عم بقدم على a journal and they clearly state that they are not interested in prevalence studies, you should not waste your time doing that. I'm saying this مع انه they might sound very basic, but كتير عالم ما بيشتغلوا بهذه الطريقة. And I have worked with people who used to send like their papers randomly to like different journals, and they used to be rejected very directly, and they used to be upset about it. But هذا البروسيس ما كان ينعمل. This process saves you time, it saves you energy, and it gives you a higher chance that the paper will get accepted directly من الأول. I'm gonna move, unless there isn't any questions for now or any comments or anything. I'm gonna switch to another topic, a little bit different topic, اللي هو mentorship. And after this, we can talk a little bit about the CV and what to put in a CV, etc. So mentorship. Mentorship is very difficult. At least it was very difficult in Lebanon. ما بعرف how it is in Egypt. I know even in the US it's not that easy. However, it's not an impossible job to find a mentor that is suitable to you. I tried to make some sort of a diagram on how you can find a good mentor. And I did that. I tried to do that actually. هلا بخبركم عن my experience. So again, it goes back to what you like, and it goes back to where you are. If you are in a stable place, يعني let us say you're applying, you are in a particular medical school, you're going to be looking for a mentor in that medical school. Let us say you're applying to another place, or you are applying to the States. You really need to know where you want to be in the States, and you need to check for a hospital or academic center that might be interesting for you and that is involved in research to start with. Dema remember that academic institutions, part of them, not all academic institutions are interested in research, okay? Like where I am now, I'm at Jackson Memorial. Actually, they are not that interested in research, and I was very surprised to know about it. يعني أنا اللي عم جرب فتش to push. They know that I'm interested in research, but they are so demotivated or so overwhelmed with the clinical work, so they don't do any research. So I want you to keep in mind that مش every academic center does the research, and it is our job, it's your job when you look at an academic center to look at the faculty in whatever topic or specialty you are interested in. Oh, there is a message from Zain. Some journals have words limitations. How serious can this affect the submitted paper? This can actually affect the paper very much. So going back to the publication, نرجع على mentorship. So if a paper حاطين فيه a limitation on the number of words, I urge you من personal experience, respect the number of words. يعني I have been struggling with this. في a paper that has been هلا rejected 3 times. كل مرة بقدمها على journal برجع بصغر فيها لأنه initially it was 8,000 words. I submitted to another place كان بدهم 6,000 words, and then I submitted to a third place كان بدهم 5,000. When I wanted to submit to the third place, the corresponding author, I wasn't corresponding author, he was like إنه كلها ألف كلمة فرق يعني ما رح مش بيناتنا هالألف كلمة. I told him فينا نصغرها. It's easy to remove 1,000 words. Let us shorten it. He was like, no, it's gonna take some time. Let us submit it anyway. عملنا لها submission. 2 days later, they were like, no, please, it's 1,000 or whatever, يعني above the word count. You have to shorten it and resubmit it. We shortened it, we resubmitted it, they rejected it. بس ما كانوا رح يقولوا هيدا rejection لأنه ما كانوا حيعملوا لها processing unless it is حسب word limitation. So journals who mention word limitation or reference limitation are very serious about it, and it's very important. That's why قلت لكم فتشوا كذا journal لأنه sometimes you might want to go to a journal where يمكن ما فيها limitation على الكلمات أو يمكن ما فيها limitation على the number of references. You might want to tell me إنه ليه مش من أول project بتطلع على الجورنال. صراحة it's not efficient this way. You cannot write your paper according to the journal where you are submitting. يعني مش إنه أنا بقرر براسي بدي أعمل submission بهذا journal so بكتب my paper according to the journal. It should definitely be the other way around. You write the paper بعدين إذا you need to make any adjustments to it, you do the adjustments according to what the journal requires. And it's always easy to shorten a paper or to remove a few references. It's always better at first to write more and then to remove what you need to. So I hope this answered your question. So going back to the mentorship, one thing very important to do, that is, once you identify what you want, once you identify like the hospital and the department, you really need to stalk everyone at that faculty. By stalking, it's not going over Facebook or Instagram, it's doing a professional stalking, mainly using Google Scholar or using like ResearchGate or LinkedIn. Personally, I don't like using ResearchGate for a reason. People would might be able to know that you looked into their profile, وبعدين it might get awkward and بتبعتوا لهم email if you found common interests. So I'd go more into ResearchGate or Google Scholar. And this is very important because, again, if you want to choose a mentor, أول شيء بتكون a mentor who works in research, meaning this mentor should be active. let us say أنا فتت عند my mentor دكتور فراس وطلعت على جوجل سكولر وآخر publication عملها in 2010. This is not active. You don't want to do this. ما بعرف شو عم بيعمل فراس آخر 10 years, بس he's not publishing papers. يمكن عم بيعمل شيء تاني even more important, I don't know. But if you are looking on working research and publishing papers, ما في RCT بدها هالقد 10 years, and definitely they would be working on something else. So as a pause of 10 years, it's a question mark for me. You need someone who was publishing like آخر سنة, آخر سنتين, آخر 3, 4, 5 years. And this means, this is someone who's actively seeking publications. And this is good because, okay, I'm not only going to be working with that person, but I have a good chance to publish, because ultimately كلنا بدنا to publish. هيدا هو بالآخر الهدف. But it doesn't stop here. You need to look at what they are publishing. So as a حدا كل their publications are case reports, this is not the best thing to do. As a حدا their publications are between, let us say, cross-sectional studies, reviews, systematic reviews, case reports, qualitative studies. Wow, this is a good variety. I can acquire a lot of experience from this person. This person might be suitable to me. And this is one way for you to think about how I can find a mentor. Another extra step, and Anna personally, I think this step is important, is to reach out to previous people who worked with that person. This might be a little bit difficult. إنه كيف بدي أنا أعرف مين كان يشتغل معه. The best way إنه I usually look at the paper itself, and commonly إذا حدا عنده medical students, let us say, أو حدا who works with someone who has a master's degree, or حدا عنده an RA, a research assistant, they would be on the paper with them. And personally, I would reach out for the people. شغلة كتير تعلمتها. أنا I used to be very reluctant in reaching out إنه بركي زعجته للشخص، أو بركي ما رد علي، أو بركي ما لازم أسأله، أو بركي. Always reach out. Always reach out. You'll be surprised how people are nice. People are usually very nice. So reach out as much as you want. And what is the worst case scenario? They don't reply back. خلص, at least you tried. You tried. So always reach out if you can. If you can find an email, typically you'd be able to find an email somewhere. أو حتى if the person is in the same institution and the same faculty, you can even drop by and ask in person. لأنه بالآخر بدكم تشتغلوا with a mentor that الشغل رح يكون good with them. إذا حكيتوا with one medical student and they were like the work was so hard, كتير هذا الشخص بيتطلب, they overwhelm us, or whatever. So ساعتها you might not be motivated to work with that person. But always, if you hear a negative experience from one person, seek another person. Because my experience, Mahada, is not like X's experience with that person. So هيدا medical student قال إنه it was too difficult. Maybe, yeah, it was difficult for him, and I would acknowledge it, and I would understand it. بس يمكن أرجع أحكي with another medical student, and they are like, لا بالعكس, it was good working with them. I was very organized. He helped me with that, etc. وهيدا الشغلة كتير مهمة, because it's gonna tell you that not every mentor is for, like, my mentor is a good match for me, but he might not be a good match for like Muhammad, or for like that person, or for like that person. Okay, and this is very important لأنه you're gonna be in situations where you will not match with your mentor, and that's fine. That's fine. هلا بنحكي more about it. Thank you, Tawsif, for the comment. That's why it's very important to seek out. And once you seek out, and once you are like, this person seems to be great, it seems like on a common interest, they are active, I've heard excellent feedback on them, reach out, بعتوا email. أنا usually اللي بعمله I can stalk a little bit, so بعتت email 72 hours ما حدا رد, I try again. So I reply back to the same email, dear XX, kind reminder of below, sorry to bother you. يعني these things. If they don't reply after this, خلص, I stop. But I take this extra step and I send a reminder, because remember, كمان the person is not just waiting and sitting for that email من المنتي. It's never the case. Everyone is super busy. مرات كثير بيقطع emails أنا ما بنتبه عليهم، بكون قطع a week برجع بنتبه عليهم, and it happens with everyone. So always كمان keep that in mind. And having all of this is in mind, مثل ما قلت لكم, does it always work out? Of course, never. Unfortunately, never. I remember أول mentor I had. He was an amazing guy. Really, he was super nice, super sweet, very organized, etc. However, he was slow. يعني أنا بطبعي, I'm a person who tends to be very dynamic. I really need to work on things fast. My pace was very different from his pace, and at a point you could sense that. لأنه أنا I used to be super motivated, يجي هو إنه trying to slow me down, and it used to get me demotivated, etc. But the thing is, he was super sweet. He actually noticed that, and believe me, mentors, لأنه when you become a mentor, you're gonna have an experience in that, and they know إذا the mentee is a good match. يعني هن كمان quote unquote ما بدهم يتعبوا حالهم too much with a mentee that doesn't match with them. يعني بدهم حدا يكون راكب على راس الثاني مثل ما بيقولوا باللبنان. he noticed إنه our pace is different. So actually what he did, كان هيك gradually exposing me to his neighbor, Dr. Firas, اللي هو currently يعني ما عم بشتغل معه, بس he was like one of my main mentors in my research journey. يعني I owe him most of what I did صراحة. So Dr. Firas is someone who is very dynamic, just like me. So Dr. George, our mentor, كان عندي, he was like إنه إذا بدك try to go عند اللاب تبع Dr. Firas, they are doing a very interesting Western blotting or whatever, etc. And I started to go there gradually, and ultimately at a point I switched in a very smooth way. وactually بعدين رحت لعنده لدكتور جورج, and I asked him about that. I thanked him about that. This was actually very helpful, and I'm glad you did it. Would everyone do that? I don't think so. يمكن مش كل العالم, يمكن it's easy for them like to refer a person to someone else. عالم يمكن ما بيقبلوها على حالهم. They don't have this collegial sense. However, I think most people do. I really hope most people do. But at least at AUB, this is the kind of experience أنا personally I got. Maybe I was lucky with that. I feel sometimes if I wasn't that lucky, راح يوصل كان a point كنت راح روح وقول I think we are at a different pace. What do you think we can do about it? Do you think you can refer me to someone else? And believe me, saying it very clearly in a very, very nice, very professional way, I think sometimes بتوفر عذاب على شخصين. Rather than being reluctant, just waiting the other person to do it, etc. I would expect in such a position the mentor should do it, لأنه بالآخر I don't like to say this word, but they come from a little bit of a superiority, a superior place, even though it shouldn't be the case. Remember, the relation with the mentor is a collegial relation. They are not your superior, منن dictator كمان. It should be a collegial relation. It's not like this. It's a relation with many layers and boundaries. I think يعني في شيء شوي منه ظابط. Everyone has his or her own character and way of dealing, especially when it comes to mentoring. This is of course correct for sure, and that's why it's very normal حدا مع المنتور تبعه ما يتفق, and that's why إذا ما اتفقتوا with the mentor, it's fine. You can look for someone else, etc. So and this كمان makes it even more important to ask people who have worked with that particular person. How is it like working with Dr. X? How does he do his work? Is he someone who tends to be super organized? Is he someone who is very strict on deadlines? في some mentors who are super strict on deadlines بدي اياها بكره، اذا منا واصله بكره by midnight بيصير في مشكل. Others are much more flexible, are much more chill. So it's very important to gather all of this information before you seek out for someone. وبالاخر again, this is not a very straightforward process. Sometimes it's just يعني a trial and error thing. And you have to go along with the wave and to see where you end up. So having talked about this and having mentioned the fact that whenever you email someone, whether صراحة it's for research or you're emailing to seek out a program or a position or anything, always بلا ما حدا يقلكن attach your CV. Really أنا ما كنت أعملها بالأول، كنت فكر إنه لا I shouldn't attach my CV. هلا I'm seeking something, the first thing I do is I attach my CV. Your CV is your professional life. يعني في your personal life, your professional life is present in that CV. And إذا you attach it من الأول يعني كأنه وفرتوا conversation تاني وكسبتوا شوية وقت، لأنه they will take a look, they will see I'm interested, okay, yes, I'm not interested, you're gonna get your answer directly. So always attach your CV. It's very important that CV يكون well done and well written. I'm gonna go over these slides quickly. ما بدي كمان كتير اتأخر عليكم. It has already been an hour. Sorry, I talk a lot. So actually these slides أعطاني إياهم when I was in Sydney at Professor Norman Sartorius, which is the he is the previous president of the World Psychiatric Association, which is amazing. كل مرة برجع أفكر فيها I'm amazed because I have never ever thought I'd be taught by this guy who's like amazing, who's so down to earth, who's so humble, and he was like the president of the WPA in the past, and he gave us many lectures, in-person lectures, and these are his slides. And by the way, at the end I can share my slides with you, so إذا بدكم إياهم I can send them to you. They are all yours to check إذا في any helpful information, I hope. So if you need these slides, definitely they are yours. So writing your CV. شغلة تعلمتها من بروفيسور سارتوريوس is to update your CV. يعني إذا هلا بتفتحوا your laptop و last time you updated the CV was 2 years ago, that's very bad, okay? Because أكيد over the past 2 years حتى لو في COVID أكيد you did something. أكيد there was something that you did over the past 2 years. And if you don't add it and if you don't update it on a regular basis, like at least a weekly, a monthly basis, you might forget a lot of stuff. So it's very important to update the CV all the time. وشغلة even more important, which I didn't used to do in the past, is actually to have a different kind of a CV for your audience. لمين عم تبعتوه. And this is very helpful لأنه a CV for an opportunity to do research with someone is very different compared to a CV to apply to residency, etc. So it's very important to have different CVs with different nuance إذا بدكم. شغلة كتير مهمة the presentation of a CV. هلا كل شيء is electronic, so you never give it by paper anymore. خصوصا with COVID وهيك. Your CV has to be very decent in terms of size, in terms of font, and in terms of typos. And it should have a place to breathe. You cannot like crumble words all over. ما حدا رح يطلع على CV معجق. إذا عجقتوه it doesn't mean it's better. Never. So you need to give it space to breathe. You need to give it كمان a good size. ما بده يكون microscopic خط 9 بس ليساعوا كلهم بصفحة واحدة. حط what is important بخط 12. هلا هون محطوط 14 is too big صراحة. I think 12 is the best and I personally use 12. And what you should always do is actually print the CV, تعملوا له print, and once you print it you need to look for typos. لأنه what happens إنه لما تقرأ over يعني على الكمبيوتر or something, there are typos that أنا ما راح انتبه لهم، ما حدا حينتبه لهم، حتى Word ما حينتبه لهم. So always print, see how it looks like when it's printed, and ساعتها إذا في typos بتنتبهوا عليهم أكثر and then you can correct them. هلا how this is a golden rule, be honest about every single part. إذا في شيء بس يمكن اليوم تتذكروه من كل الحكي اللي حكيته is this sentence, really be honest about. You will be surprised العالم قد ايه رح يطلعوا على every single point you say in the CV. قلت أنا سافرت على مصر وقدمت هيدي البرزنتيشن, they will be like tell me more about the Congress. شو كان هذا الكونغرس about؟ أو tell me more about that presentation. أو أنا اشتغلت على أنا بريسيرش بروجكت وبهذا الريسيرش ما فيهم يجوا يسألوني شو هذا الريسيرش وأنا كان شغلي إنه أنا زبطت الريفرنسز على اند نوت. ما فيها حط هيك شيء على السي في ويسألوني about it. So you really need to be very honest about every single part, and you need to know your CV by heart. ما فيهم يجوا يقولوا لك how was Tunisia in 2018 what you did وأنا ناسي شو عامل وناسي شو مقدم. It will not look good. So whatever you put in the CV, you have to be honest about it and you have to remember it very well. These are the CV headings. أكيد you can تغيروا فيهم شوي, but I think it's a very good outline. So هلا we're going to go over each part: identification, personal information, education, employment history, research experience, skills, and other relevant assets. So publications is usually the last part. So in identification, it's very straightforward. Full name. ما بحط سامر أو سام أو الحايك. سامر الحايك. If you أكيد إذا عندكم no composé double name, you put that. إذا some people prefer to use كمان to add their parents, their dads, or even their mom's name. If you need to do that, do it. كثير مهم تحطوا your current address, your current affiliation. أنا personally I don't put home, I put work, my affiliation, my current latest affiliation. Very 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 important to put as well your telephone number. ما تحطوا رقم البيت, ما تحطوا رقم your parents. You need to put your own personal mobile because they can call you at any time. Usually إذا they called and no one picked up, they are like, this is someone who sends a CV, doesn't pick up. So make sure you put your own mobile or work number that is always on you. Electronic address وشغلة كتير مهمة. This was a mistake I did in the past. Is that you are currently affiliated with a place and your affiliation in that place might finish. حتى لو it might finish in a year or in 2 years, you need to think قبل ما تبعتوا تحطوا هيدا الادرس for a reason. لأنه let us say أنتوا عم تبعتوا بعتوا السي في ومحطوط هيدا الايميل for a reason you left that place, mind your account active. أو for a reason محل ما بعتوا لهم they contacted you after 1 year, مش هلا. The email might be inactivated. So I prefer that here بالGmail electronic address, use your personal email, your Gmail, okay? So that whenever people try to contact you, you're gonna have it. And always check your spam, by the way. لأنه مرات بالسبام بيوصل قصص ما لازم يوصلوا بالسبام, they end up in the spam. So always check the spam and always put your personal email for CV purposes. Alternative contact, you can put it. Personal information, and it's very important to mention. Some people would be like, إنه لا ما بدي أحط my age, but ultimately they will know your age from like what you did and from your educational history. So definitely put that. Do not put a picture unless they ask you for it. So is that they don't mention anything about the picture, it's not the best thing to put. It's I hate to say that لأنه sometimes the picture might not work in your best interest. So is that they didn't ask for it, do not put it. Shiana, it will not work in your best interest. Let me say I'm African American, so بعت السي حطيت الصورة تبعي. You might be surprised إنه my CV or my application will get disregarded according to that. It can happen. I'm not saying it might happen or it will happen, but it can. So is that they didn't ask for a picture, don't add it to your CV. Is that typically when they ask for a picture, they ask for it as separate. يعني بتكون as a separate file, not in the CV itself. In education and in all other sections, always بلشوا be what is the most recent, what يعني from أجدد شيء لأقدم شيء. And definitely when you put them in that order كمان keep in mind in what you want to put in the CV is what is the most important. يعني let us say أنا عم بقدم على psychiatry training, okay? It's very important for me to mention إنه أنا عامل observership like in this place in the US. So this is very important in my education to add. But it's not important إنه أقول إنه أنا لما كنت بالميديكال سكول ربحت ما بعرف أو I was responsible for the ethics club or whatever it is أو يعني whatever it is. So you need to be careful إنه مش every post I had أو every educational thing I did or I got I should put it there. لأنه مرات رح يكون تعبية على الفاضي and you don't want it to feel like that for the individual who's reading the CV. Include details of learning relevant to the receiver, definitely يعني ذات الشيء إذا أنا interested in psychiatry عملت observership في أحط more details. I did a 1 month observership, I did كذا, I did كذا, blah blah, with a little bit of bullet point details next to it. بالemployment use the same order as in the list of education. Sometimes بيقولوا لكم إنه CV should be 1 paper or 2 papers, so you need to use the space that you have in a smart way. Again يكون homogeneous وما يكون القصص كثير فايتين ببعضها. حطوا spaces بين a section and the other وإلا it will be too tough to the reader. إذا ما في a limitation على CV, you can have a 4 or 5 pages CV. أنا my CV is 5 pages. ولا مرة حدا قال لي إنه you have to shorten it أو حدا عطيني restriction, but sometimes they do. So إذا you have the chance for a longer CV, you can put bullet points على القصص that you did that you think are very relevant, very special. Like ما بعرف أنا in my psychiatry training, I had particular exposure to TMS or particular exposure to IV ketamine or whatever. This might be very special يعني for that center wherever I'm applying to here, so I added there. If the CV is for a local purpose, list popular supervisors. Sorry. So, sorry. So this is true يعني. Let us say أنا رجع على الAUB. It's very important إنه حط إنه my supervisor was Dr. Firas or Dr. Talia or whatever, so that they can contact that person and ask them about it. Sorry. Now going to research experience. شغلة كتير مهمة. Do not use this heading unless you have something to report really. إذا ما عندكم research experience, it's fine. Just don't put the heading. بالآخر كلنا we started with a CV where we didn't have research experience, where we didn't have employment experience. So is that there's nothing to report, don't put it. State where and when you are involved in research and list what you are doing in that along with the names of the supervisor. So مثلا one thing you can write is research volunteer, comma, American University of Department of Psychiatry, comma, American University of Beirut, comma, Beirut, comma, whatever. Even if we did data collection, this is research experience. This is definitely something you would want to put. You can definitely add it. So شو يعني research experience? Let us say I have been working with this lab or with this doctor. I did literature review. This is research experience. I wrote part of a manuscript. This is research experience. I did data collection. I helped with the IRB. I helped with writing the protocol. I helped with data cleaning. I helped with data analysis. I helped with whatever. So as long as في a very particular role that you did, you definitely put it. And it will be like once you put that, فيكم تحطوا under the supervision of Dr. Kaza Kaza, assistant professor at the department. You can also put the name of the project. I always do that to give it more credibility for sure. And then you can mention in bullet points what you did. It could be something completely different as عم تشتغلوا basic research, like ما بعرف, acquire the skills in Western blotting or acquire the skills in doing RT-PCR, things like that. So it's very important to list it and to be very specific about your role. And about what you did. Again, list the supervisors. You can also take it an extra level إذا في محل بالCV, like say which aspects of the research you liked, state whether you would like to continue in a particular area. And very important here to put is that you have been at a point a reviewer for papers yourself in a particular journal, or if you are an editorial member at that journal. And this would be again, so is that you reviewed a few papers. Let us say you get the chance to review 2 papers only. I would put them. بقول إنه reviewer for paper once the paper is published, of course. So بدكم تنطروا للpaper تكون published. Once the paper is published, you can add to the CV. You have to double check مرات with the journal is that they would allow it to put you in your CV, but many journals what they do إنه reviewers are actually public, so you can publicly say إنك you review أو إنك you reviewed the paper ليكون في أكثر شفافية. Usually with these cases you can definitely mention إنه reviewed paper titled كذا 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 published in this journal in this particular date. إذا you publish so many papers like more than 5, I would make it more brief. A reviewer in journal of kaza kaza, and that's it. You definitely need to put the dates. By the way, I can even send you a copy of my CV just to have a vibe of how you can put things. Definitely into you can rearrange the way you want to adjust it. And really, as a حدا بده help with the CV, you can contact me. I'm gonna type my email here. So this is my email. Okay. Feel free to contact me عن جد if you have any questions. إذا you want help with writing your CV, إذا you're applying somewhere, you want help with a statement letter or something, I'm really more than willing to help you with that. كلنا بذات the problems all together, so I'm here to try to help as much as possible. And I'm gonna even share my number here. This is my US number, so if you really need anything, feel free to talk to me at any time you wish. Okay, I'm almost 24 hours available. Key time difference, but usually I'm pretty responsive on WhatsApp. So 786-303-7544, and the code is +1. My name is Samir الحايك. Okay, so going back to this slide, I think so I think we're over the slide. Next slide. We're almost done, by the way, guys. So skills, list skills which you have acquired. This will really depend your background, and it depends على شو انتم مقدمين. Let us say يعني مثلا in medicine, management skills, computer skills ما كتير بهموني صراحة. So I would care more about teaching skills if I'm applying to an academic position. So I would put teaching skills. With teaching skills, it's very important to put in I won an award for being the best teacher resident in my 4th year in residency. This is very relevant. إذا you didn't want the award ما تحطوا teaching skills being a good teacher. لا, you need something to prove it. لأنه surprisingly مرات they would tell you, oh, you won that award, can you send me a copy of it? وهون بنرجع again about being very honest about every part you put and everything you say. Okay. Grant writing is very important. As أكيد you're applying for a research position, and this is where you put the name of the grant, the funding source, for how long it's funded, where you are in the process, who is the supervisor. This is where you can put it. Languages as well. You can also put it as a separate part. ما تحطوا languages in a table. في محلات إذا you look like online بيعطوكم هودي CVs with colors ومعجقين وهيك. This is not what you want. Remember, this is your professional life in a document. So you want it to be as professional as possible. Languages, very simply, it could be like Arabic native, English full proficiency, French full proficiency, Spanish intermediate proficiency, whatever. Okay, so you can be as simple as that. مش ضروري writing و speaking وهيك. No need to go into these details. You can be as they can ask you about them during the interview or whatever. So بدهم يعرفوا أكتر, they would ask you about it. Other relevant assets, I think we talked about this. يعني again, tailor the CV حسب وين أنتم عم بتقدموه. Referees, it's very important. إذا they asked you for referees, to put them. It's very important to tell your referees إنه their names are on your CV. ما بدي أنا حدا يدق لي يقولوا لي نحن عم نحكيك من كذا كذا، أنت بتعرف حدا ويمكن أنا هيدا الحدا شاغل معه من سنة or whatever. So you need to tell your referees إنه hey, I put your name on my CV, بعت الCV لهيدا organization for this reason. They might give you a phone call. Would you mind that? Is it okay if I put your phone number? Is it okay if I put your email? You need to take permission for that. Okay, so هيدا keep it in mind, ما تنسوها. and anything else relevant, like you can add it there. Publications. Okay, you only put papers that are published or papers that are in press, and this is very important. Papers in press شو يعني paper قطعت انه الاديتور قال يلا خلينا نبعتها على ريفيو، قطعت الريفيو، بعتوا كومنتس، جاوبتوا على الكومنتس، ردوا لكم accepted and went into production. So once it is in production, this is in press. فإذا paper منا in press، إذا paper أنا بعتها على الجورنال والجورنال بعد مرض أو الجورنال قال لي major revisions، don't put it in your publications please. maximum بترجعوا بتحطوها بالresearch section فوق وبتقولوا إنه هيدي paper submitted there، أو حتى فيكم ما تقولوا paper submitted in the process of writing the manuscript or whatever. So only those which are published and those which are in press. Do not list submitted or preparation papers. أكيد in chronological order, the most recent to the least recent. This is where you can put is that you presented somewhere. So is that you presented, including Zoom meetings, you can put is that you presented a presentation. What is the presentation? Where you presented it? What is the poster presentation? Blah blah whatever. Always list the authors مثل ما هن in the publication. Please ما تشقلبوا الأسامي. Sometimes it can happen by mistake, so be aware of that. And I would بنصحكم to bold your name. Okay, خصوصا إذا في شي 10 authors أو whatever وأنتوا an author in the middle وسابها it's okay. كلنا رح نكون an author in the middle at a point. ما رح نكون دايما first أو آخر author. So always bolden your name so that it will be easier for a reviewer. يعني let us say في 20 papers ما راح يجي يقعد يقرا كل paper، راح يطلع بهودي 20 papers كم مرة الاسم bolden بالأول أو كم مرة الاسم bolden بالآخر. okay، وكم مرة it's bolden as second author versus like in the middle. So always put it in bold. هلا إذا عندكم كتير papers you can highlight few papers and write a sentence about it. شو يعني paper هي important? Let us say I wrote a paper that was a meta-analysis or that was published in Lancet Psychiatry وكانت كتير مهمة وفي حدا 20 other papers. I would like to highlight this paper صراحة, so I could write a few sentences beneath it in a small, like a small summary, small abstract. It's not very common to do. Some people do it, and personally I don't do it. I think إذا حدا really interested in the papers, they would go over them, برجع بيطلع عليهم, and they would ask about it. If we attend sessions as today or conference via Zoom, we can mention it in our CV, right? So, Charlie, it's a very important question. Thank you for asking it. Is that you attended a session and this session does not offer a certificate, I urge you not to put it on the CV. لأنه they might tell you, you attended this, did you get a certificate? You didn't get a certificate, question mark, did they attend or not? Believe me, people might think this way, and you would want to put something that comes with a certificate. Okay, so it's better for again لأنه عم نرجع نحكي هيدا document is very professional وهيدا document they can ask about every part and they might tell you إنه فرجينا certificate. إذا ما في certificate, unfortunately the value of it on the CV رح تقل. للأسف, the value of attending it, I hope it's high, but the value on the CV is gonna be low. So I wouldn't want to put it there. What I would want to do would be mention لما ابعت لكم, إذا بعت لك مثلا أحمد my CV, there will be a part اسمها professional memberships اللي منا موجودة على هود السلايدز. So if you are in a professional group, you would add a section. I usually added after employment. Okay, so you add a section اسمها professional memberships, and then you list the memberships, and one of it would be member of the network تبعكم, وبتحط اسم النتورك, and then you put the dates من أي متى 2020 to present, August 2020 present, and then in that you can put bullet points قصص حضرتها, or you can put bullet points what were things you were doing, attending conferences about كذا كذا, doing كذا كذا. Okay, so I think like I'm doing a writing. What about a workshop where they don't? Where are you doing that workshop? So again, so I think who asked? So this is Jibril. So you're doing this workshop about a grant. However, there isn't a certificate. Uh, this is African Research Foundation. Are you a member there? If you are a member there, you put it under memberships, and then in that, underneath that, you can put you can put that attended a workshop about kaza kaza. I know these workshops are very important, I know these workshops at many times unfortunately ما بيعطوا certificate أو بيصيروا they need to get paid for the certificate للأسف. But of course, if you can do things that come with a certificate, it's better. Again, for the CV. هون عم نحكي بس عن CV، ما عم نحكي عن what انتو intellectually you want to acquire. أنا بقولكم اعملوا workshops قد ما بدكم acquire them for your professional gain, but on the CV you might be restricted in putting them لأنه الفاليو تبعهم على السي في رح تنقص إذا ما في certificate. كثير رح تفرق إذا I'm saying certificate of attendance of writing grants African Research Foundation versus attended ومني member حتى. Okay, so keep that in mind. I know it's a bad limitation, but remember, you can attend the workshop and you can be smart enough during the interview and mention that. So you'd be like, you know, I didn't mention that in the CV, but actually I attended a workshop about grant writing. They didn't offer me a certificate. However, now I feel very comfortable doing that, etc., etc. Okay, so this is one way you can play it out. We're almost done. Common mistakes, humor, your CV again. This is a professional document. كلنا عالم مهضومين، كلنا عالم بنحب النكت. ما تنكتوا بالCV really because people will not look at it in a good way. It's a very professional document, okay? Complex or varied or large or small fonts, لا. You need your file to be standardized. You need your spaces to be standardized. مش محل double space، محل single space، محل 1.5 space، محل Arial، محل Times Romans. Please لا. These will make the CV repelling. رح يقولوا انه هذا السي هالقد disorganized. اذا السي منه ظابط كيف انا بدي اشتغل مع هذا الشخص؟ اذا السي منه organized, how they will be organized at their work. Spelling errors, again, print it and read it. Sections not in chronological order. بحط لي الemployment من الماضي للfuture and then بيرجع بحط الpublications بالعكس. So always من الأجدد للأقدم throughout everything. Insufficient contact details. حاطط رقم الماما أو حاطط إيميل ما بيشتغل. Please be updated. لهيك it's very important to update your CV regularly. CV not updated. CV previously used for another purpose. بعتت CV for a clinical position أو على residency application. 3/4 الCV عم بحكي research. Okay, كتير مهم تحكي research بس كمان where is that section about your clinical work? If you had any, you know what I mean. It's disorganized again. No referees from own institution. Okay, this is important. So let us say أنا هلا ب Jackson Memorial and I'm reapplying for residency. So بدي أحط referees. إذا ما حطيت حدا من Jackson, even though بس إلي شهر معهم, it will look bad. They will be like إنه this guy هلا ب Jackson, he didn't put any referee or he didn't get a letter from anyone from Jackson. I wonder why is that. So always ensure إنه you have a referee from the institution where you are currently working. أضبط شيء your supervisor or your mentor. Unknown abbreviations. Never use ما بعرف NHMCP certificate. شو يعني؟ Please spell every word لأنه اللي عم بيقرأ الCV ما بيعرف انتو شو عاملين. You have to spell them. إذا في word كتير مستعملينه, you spell it first time, بتحطوا abbreviation, you can use the abbreviation later on. However, we don't really like this very much. إذا فينا بلا abbreviations, it would be best. Okay, so I think I'm done. This is just this is my best slide, a motivational slide, really, because really we all started from zero. So we all started from scratch, and this should never demotivate you as long as you have the right people surrounding you, hopefully. take it slowly on yourselves. We're living in very tough periods with everything happening يعني at a regional level, at a global level. So ما تقسوا على حالكم. Be patient, really be patient. Be kind to yourselves, really. Again, it's a long journey. I said that a lot بالأول. And this will be it will help you acquire a lot of maturation at so many levels. كثير حتتعلموا من الأغلاط، كثير حتتعلموا من the difficulties that happen, and this is normal, this is okay. Work hard for sure. كل السلايدز اللي قبل هن work hard. أكيد work hard, work for what you want. Take very good care of yourself. يعني I think this is the priority that I have to say. شو ما كان عندكم. لأنه really I don't like to say this, but at work you are dispensable. إذا لا سمح الله الواحد صار له شيء you are easily dispensable. So your priority shouldn't always be your work. يعني عرفوا your priorities. Take care of your physical health, take care of your mental health, take care of your beloved ones. And I have a question. In the reference part, could we mention upon request? Yes, you can do that. Of course, you can do that. If you don't want to put any names. And you are all good enough. I'm pretty sure you are even more than good enough. So I think this is the end of my presentation. I apologize إذا طولت عليكم. If you have any questions, please feel free. عم بفتح the chat again. So توصيف, this was really an amazing session. Thank you, Samir, for such an amazing and motivation presentation. Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you for your motivation, your time. You're most welcome. Really, it has been really a pleasure to be with you. I hope this was beneficial for everyone. I really hope so. Really, again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. I sent you on the chat my email. I sent you my contact number. So if you need anything, feel free. إذا بدكم the presentation, I think I can send it to Muhammad, and then Muhammad can disseminate it to everyone. Okay. Muhammad, the floor is yours.
شكرا ليك يا سامر. والله انا enjoyed a lot بالبرزنتيشن وبالتجربه، وفعلا بشكرك من كل قلبي على المستوى الشخصي، المستوى البروفيشنال، ليور اونست ويور فولنربيليتي وتواضعك، يعني داون تو ايرث بصراحه. وانا استفدت كتير جدا على مستوى حتى الجزء الخاص بالسي في. يعني انا كنت بدرس او بشرح للناس ازاي يكتبوا السي في، فانت شرحتها بشكل متواضع جدا، بشكل حقيقي جدا، ومبسوط جدا بالمحاضره ديت يا سامر. وشكرا على اجابتك على الاسئله. فالنهارده ده دلوقتي جزء الاسئله، فانا عارف ان سامر جاوب على معظم الاسئله اثناء المحاضره، which was amazing for me بصراحه. يعني معظم المحاضرين اللي احنا بنحضر لهم يا اما بيسيبوا الاسئله في الاخر، بس يعني it was a very dynamic interactive session. thank you يا سامر. فيا ريت يعني الجزء المتبقي نقدر نشوف لو في اي اسئله، اي كلمه حابين توجهوها دكتور سامر، فاحنا معاكم.
Most welcome. I'm glad it was helpful. I'm really glad.
Really, it was very helpful.
More than happy about it. وقلت لكم رح ارجع ابعث لكم كل شيء, so no worries about any of the information. I'll send you a template of the CV. If you have any questions, if you need anything, just feel free to reach out. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Saamer. توصيف hope that in the future research-oriented session will be conducted. إن شاء الله we will take it consideration يا توصيف. إن شاء الله. أي سؤال يا شباب؟ أي استفسار؟ أنا لو هوصف السيشن النهارده يا سامر هوصفها بصفة واحدة بس، إن أنت كنت حقيقي جدا.
Thank you.
دي صفة احنا مفتقدينها، والله مفتقدينها جدا ان الانسان يبقى حقيقي وبي يور سيلف. ده شيء جميل، فشكرا ليك ان انت وصلتنا الاحساس ده.
Thank you.
مبسوط جدا بزملائنا العرب، يعني سامر من لبنان، زملائنا العرب اللي موجودين على الحضور. بصراحه يعني مبسوط بالاكسبوجر بتاع الشبكه، ان احنا بدأنا نتكلم مع ريجنال مش بس مصر. فشكرا لوجودكم وشكرا لتواجدكم. ان شاء الله المحاضره ديت هتكون متسجله على على الشانل بتاعتنا ان شاء الله. والناس اللي اتعملت اكيد كلكم حضرتم عملتوا ريجستريشن، ف if you don't mind Samir we will share the presentation with them.
Yes, of course.
Once we receive the presentation from Samir we will share it مع كل الناس اللي registered على الايفنت ان شاء الله. طيب لكل شيء نهاية، وجينا هنا لنهاية السيشن. بشكركم جميعا مرة أخرى باسم الشبكة وباسمي شخصيا على الحضور وعلى الالتزام في الوقت ده. بشكرك يا سامر جدا جدا، كسبناك اكسبرت في الشبكة، كسبناك على المستوى الإنساني والشخصي. بتمنى لك كل التوفيق في رحلتك، وإن شاء الله يبقى بينا لقاءات تانية قريب إن شاء الله.
Inshallah. It was really a pleasure to be with you. It was really nice to get to meet all of you. And if you need anything again, يعني feel free to reach out. رجع بعض قصص على chat. I wonder if you can, Dr. Samir, give your advice for undergrad beginner researchers. Thank you so much. It was really beneficial about mentorship because everybody asks about it. Really, whoever needs anything, I'm gonna send again my email, so feel free to reach out. If we need to do another session حتى I'm pretty open for it. برجع بقول لكم قلتها بالأول, the work you're doing is amazing and it's much needed. So if there is any other way I can support you, let me know. Okay.
شكرا جزيلا يا سامر، شكرا جزيلا، واتمنى لك التوفيق و have a great weekend. و appreciate ان انت شغال في الويك اند يعني، فشكرا ليك وبالتوفيق ليك يا رب ان شاء الله.
Take care. باي باي.
باي باي، نشوفكم على خير يا شباب، ولقاءات اخرى باذن الله. السلام عليكم.